So, good morning, all. BFSI is an acronym for Banking, Financial Services, and Insurance. Banking may include core banking, retail, private, corporate, investment, cards, and the like. Financial services may include stockbroking, payment gateways, mutual funds, etc. And insurance covers both life and non-life. India's banking, financial services, and insurance sector is expected to provide jobs to an additional 1.6 million skilled workers by 2022. This means plenty of banking jobs and a host of others in insurance and financial services. In fact, NSDC, a National Skills Development Corporation report reveals that the sector will need an infusion of manpower in several departments, including corporate banking, retail banking, in treasury, in finance, technology, and HR to meet future challenges in the sector. Clearly, the time's right to contemplate a career in BFSI. So, in the next 30 minutes or so, we explore the various aspects of BFSI industry, its career prospects, and the kind of skills required to fulfill the skill requirements for job roles within this sector. For this, we are fortunate that we have experts from the industry to answer all our queries related to this. For this, we have Mr. Khushroo Panthaky, Director Grant Thornton. With a rich experience in the BFSI sector, he is one of the best in the domain in the country to take us through the discussion on BFSI. Also, we have Mr. Gaurav Arora, Vice President, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Being a chartered accountant and a CS, having a degree in law, Gaurav has a varied experience in Yes Bank and GMR behind him and has been a sought after and acclaimed corporate trainer in the domain. We're really fortunate to have the best with us at Lloyd. This session is going to be a brief Q&A section. So I begin with you, Mr. Panthaky. Since the aspirants of the postgraduate management education in BFSI would be keen on knowing, first thing, the job options after studying this course. So could you please throw some light on that for us about what all could be the various job options that a student who passes out his PGDM in BFSI explore on?
Thank you, Vandana. First of all, at the outset, thank you for this opportunity to interact on behalf of the Lloyd School of Business with the aspirants who would like to be a part of this particular industry. I must say that banking, financial services, insurance, that is what BFSI is known for, has a very, very wide scope. Given the fact that this particular segment of the industry is not just focused on one facet. You look at the various opportunities we have within this sector. It is banking, it is insurance, it is asset management, mutual funds, broking, capital markets, and of course fintech as well. So there are quite a few opportunities that one would definitely have in this particular sector. Look at the spread of financial services all over the country. Look at the kind of impact that it has on the economy, and look at the number of jobs in this particular sector. I must say with a lot of conviction that the number of jobs that the financial services sector offers today in the economy will be much, much higher, maybe twofold or threefold compared to any other particular industry or a segment like a real estate or a pharma or a consumer goods. And therefore the scope is very high. Also, the other advantage over here is that suppose within the BFSI, if at all one would like to make a switch over from banking into insurance and from insurance into an asset management, they are so closely interrelated. And therefore, the kind of switch over from one subsegment to the other is no-brainer. It's not a rocket science, and therefore people will find it very easy compared to moving in from one sector into the other. And finally, more importantly, I think there are quite a few intermediaries as well, which relate to the fact that, let's say within broking, you have got stock broking, you have got insurance broking, you have got private equity, you have got many, many other things. And that's the reason why there are quite a few opportunities within that particular intermediary sector also forming part of BFSI. So I'm very convinced about the fact that the highest kind of opportunities that one would have today would be in the BFSI sector compared to any other
Wonderful.
industry.
Then, in that case, I feel the students have a lot of options to, think about and take up in spite of the pandemic that is looming around. Thanks so much. We'll come back to you for more. Gaurav, thanks so much for joining us. Since you've been in this sector for a long, long time, could you also tell us about what all is covered in the BFSI sector? Since our kids have a misconception that this is mainly a banking job, and some kids, the postgraduate, candidates and aspirants, they fret from a banking job. So, what all is covered, and what all can they look forward
Right.
to?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vandana, for arranging this interesting talk, because I think at least this will focus on one important aspect of clearing a misconception about BFSI is all about banking. I think when you say BFSI as one word, a lot of people are not able to move beyond banking because we actually take it in one breath. So the most important part here is that it has such a wide area of services and such a wide area of uh, elements which are involved in the financial sector, which includes your mutual fund industry, which is itself a very big industry. It includes your stock broking services. It includes your services like merchant banker, investment banking, boutique firms, fintechs, payment gateways, payment services. So all these and above all NBFCs. So today NBFCs are giving an equal kind of a participation in the financial inclusion of the country. Prime Minister has a dream of having financial inclusion right when he started opening Jan Dhan accounts. So imagine from that day to having an NBFC which finances a micro or a MSME sort of an organization, which is not having proper papers, which is not having any financial background or the credit history, and plus they don't have proper books of accounts. Plus, there are NBFCs who are going to fund them. So these NBFCs are itself a very big market. Then there are venture debt firms which are funding the startups till the time their equity comes in. Then there are private equity firms. There are venture capital firms. So I think one has to really understand that again, each one of these have a separate vertical. For example, they will definitely have a sales unit. They will definitely have a wing which is filled with analysts. So a lot of analysts will be working on which sector to work, and some analysts are for the purpose of credit underwriting, and some are for the purpose of publishing reports or giving opinions in the market. Then there are similarly people who are on the street for the additional services with respect to it could be a trustee services, it could be a intermediary services, all those sort of things. And you'll be very surprised to know that some elements we actually ignore. Banks even deal in certain elements which we just can't even think of in normal scenario. For example, gold. So maybe on a Akshaya Tritiya you go to PC Jewelers and buy some jewelry, but point is that banks trade in bullions and gold to a large extent. Banks trade in commodities. So there are commodity exchange desks. There are exchanges for the commodity trading. There are exchanges for all sort of new type of things, including the bitcoins. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that there are a lot of unexplored territories which we have not yet kind of covered when we talk about BFSI. And insurance itself is a huge area, because it's not only life and a general insurance, it also takes you to new aspects like political insurance. It also takes you to services like actuary services. So plus we must not forget that these organizations are as good as any other organization. Only thing is they specialize in this particular domain. So whether it is an HR, whether it is operations, whether it's administration, all these domains or all subunits are any day open for a candidate who does not want to go into, say, the core sales or the core analytical part. So I think and to sum it up, I think I'll say one thing: everything got closed in the pandemic except essential services and banking. So you can understand the relevance of the sector, that this is a economic pillar, backbone of the country. So it's not you can very easily say that this sector is immune to any kind of a pandemic which is as severe as COVID-19.
Thanks so much. Though we won't say immune, but yes, so bankers have been the unknown warriors who have not been acclaimed and who have not been awarded and rewarded for the same. But yes, banks have been open, and we appreciate that. So students can look up to, getting into a life-saving, a savior career as well.
Yes. So we, while we always call our healthcare facilities and our forces as the primary corona warriors, but believe me, bankers have contributed from a financial front to a lot significant way. So I think this is definitely an honor and a pride to serve country when there's a time of such kind of a pandemic. So people must take a pride when they become a part of the financial system and become a financial warrior for the country.
Thanks so much. Khushroo, could you please, since like Gaurav also said, the industry is looking very favorable, in this domain, as in what is told by both of you. But what is the basic skill set that, a student or an aspirant will need to pursue a career in BFSI? Like, good in statistics or mathematics or accounts or what? Or can anybody or any graduate in any discipline pursue a career in BFSI?
Well, I would say that, very honestly, I believe that this particular sector is so big and wide, and the opportunities are beyond the normal financial opportunities, I would say. Say, for example, today in a bank, I'm just giving various examples. Of course, from an aptitude standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for people who have a very commercial mind, who have a commercial sense, who have a good amount of professional skepticism within them to become in the financial service industry. But if you look at it from an overall standpoint, I think one requires a lot of commercial mind. You need that kind of a commercial mind and a commercial acumen. So it's not necessary that people who come with a commerce background only will have that particular advantage of being in this sector. Just to give you an example, in the case of banking, there are various opportunities. You can be a part of operations, you can be a part of finance, you can be a part of commercial, you can be a part of institutional banking, you can be a part of retail banking. Similarly, in the case of insurance, one can be within operations, one can be within product development, one can be within finance and reporting, and the mutual funds. And I think one point which I have not spoken about it by earlier question from you is the fact that look at the NBFC world today. There are 17 to 20,000 NBFCs, retail finance. There are quite a few housing finance companies, micro housing finance companies, microfinance companies. And within each of these organizations, the opportunities are immense, right from the administration to human resources, to operations, to selling, to product development, to distribution, and credit. Most importantly, credit as well. So to answer your question very openly, it's not necessary that only people with a commerce background, but people with a commercial mind and a commercial acumen would be best placed to be a part of this. And as I mentioned earlier, I keep reiterating this, that the jobs and the opportunities are infinite in this particular sector.
Wonderful. So continuing with that, Khushroo, if you could also tell us, now that you've told us that, graduate with any background, in fact, though with just a commercial mindset can, pursue a career, but also would the aspirants face any challenges, in the near future if they choose this as a career?
I would say that challenges would always be there at the beginning. People need to understand. I mean, it's not just, I would say, the curriculum. It's not just clearing the exam. It's a part of experience as well. So as and when there is an opportunity, they can actually have a hands-on experience by being associated as a trainee or as a, as a summer trainee or as a short-term kind of a secondment on some of these banks and institutions. And the challenge would be initially in terms of coming up to speed. But somebody who has got a good knowledge on the computer side, on the IT side, which in terms of, using the various software, Microsoft, etc., somebody who has a basic understanding about the way in which these industry operates across various sectors, and somebody who has a decent understanding about what activities are there under each of these banking, insurance, etc., within these organizations, within these departments. I believe it's a matter of 2 years or 3 years to come up to speed. And once you come up to speed, I think given the background that you would have and the experience that you would have, it may not be that challenging. But yes, for the first time, it is a little, and the world moves very fast these days. By the time you're comfortable with something, there is already an evolution on the other thing. So it's just a matter of time. One has to work very hard. One has to be sort of, very pushy in terms of taking that particular initiative that I'm going to be doing it on my own. I will be working hard, I'll be reading, and at the same time, I will be the one who will want to gain that adequate experience. So I don't think that it is going to be very difficult, but yes, hard work can definitely lead to success.
Right. Thanks so much. And in fact, in any domain that is needed, hard work would definitely lead to success. And more so in banking, where we see that, there is a lot to study. But since the picture is rosy on the other side, so the hard work does not go in vain. So Gaurav, coming to the corona pandemic, because we cannot let go of any conversation without talking of the pandemic which has affected us so badly. How do you think the pandemic has affected the financial services? Though you already told us that banks have been open and you've been actually the warriors of the pandemic. But how has it affected the financial services in the country and in the world? And how have the jobs been affected as badly as in other sectors? Have people been losing jobs in banks as well, or is it like a good situation there?
So I think, first of all, I would like to, tell you an interesting fact that now we divide the whole, timeline into two parts, AD and AC. So AD, till now we have been following a calendar which represented years with AD, and now it's after Corona, which is AC. And believe me, banking has a very, very interesting journey in this, AC frame, where we have seen a surge in requirement of banking in a more digital way. So the digital is the new trend, and believe me, a lot of people who were earlier either were shy or they were hesitant to use the banking on a digital platform, they have actually migrated to that particular platform. And now that brings a few more set of opportunities. One is the security. The security part, information technology and its security, it's again a very important aspect which people have to work upon now. Now it also comes that more number of people on the banking platform not dealing in the cash economy will require more number of debit cards, more number of digital solutions, more number of digital wallet kind of a solution, more number of B2B and B2C kind of a transactions where banking is the base. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that after Corona or after this pandemic, I think banking has gone into a different kind of a evolution, where every loan proposal which comes to the bank is assessed that how it will survive in AC time frame, and bank itself has to look at that how you have to devise the new strategies, new ways of dealing with the things in the new AC time frame. And by that, bank has to gear up the manpower on the security front, manpower on the digital front, manpower on the product development front, manpower on the product implementation front. Plus banks have a very important responsibility of doing a financial inclusion, which was earlier, and now they have come to another responsibility, which is digital inclusion. So you would have realized that now for opening a bank account, you don't need to visit a branch. It can be opened through a video KYC. So I think all these things, when these new things are coming up, they are giving opportunities to a lot more new people, those who can, those who can actually, adapt to that particular change and are ready to take up the challenges of the new timeline, which is after Corona. Now, as far as the employment is concerned, see, I think one thing about good about this whole country is that we are back on track faster than anybody could have imagined. So if you see that the people are back to their February levels of turnover and business, or maybe they're at the 90% of those levels which were pre-Corona. So when industry is going to resume, you can safely assume that business is coming back and banking going to evolve from financial inclusion to digital inclusion. there are going to be plenty of jobs rather than a job cut. There is always a dominoes effect if a second wave comes in or the vaccine is delayed beyond a point. No industry can get immune to it, but yes, like essentials we discussed, they never die. Banking and banking BFSI industry will definitely need more people to service, even if there is a second wave or there is a new kind of a challenges which are thrown in the form of digital inclusion. So I don't think so there is anything to worry that there are going to be less jobs or something. But yes, there could be certain patches. It could be a M&A teams or a boutique firms or private equity firms where deals have dried up for a time being. But yes, journal banking, which we call it in banking, insurance, mutual funds, stock broking, 90% of the BFSI is definitely working smoothly.
Then I would like to add a little bit to what Gaurav, if I have an opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Gaurav extremely well articulated about the impact of COVID, and even I would say at the outset, that not too many jobs are impacted. I think there was an evaluation being done that in case at all there are low performers, this was a time when the low performers were eliminated. If you look at the performance of the mutual fund industry, the NAV currently in terms of AUM as of 31st of July is higher than the AUM as of 31st of March, which Gaurav rightly mentioned that things are picking up definitely. Even if you look at the banks, no doubt they are flushed with the savings. So the savings and the current accounts, etc., that keeps increasing on a day-to-day basis. But I think the credit offtake is impacted to some extent, and the banks have become much more careful and evaluating as to whether they should lend for the credit or not for the credit. But from a technological standpoint, just one last statement, and again alluding to what Gaurav mentioned, as far as the technology is concerned, they have the best of technology. They have the best of platforms. Even in the virtual environment, firms like ours, which did the audit of the largest banks in the country today, did not have any major problems. So the banks are technologically savvy. But one thing that I would also like to mention very clearly, and I think that is a fear amongst many students, that given there's new tools like artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc., which are the new kids on the block, and they have been implemented significantly by the financial services industry, there is nothing to fear, because a human brain or a human professional skepticism will sort of never get minimized in front of technology. That will prevail. And come what may, human intervention will be there always, and the need for individuals will be there always, despite the best of technology. Even tomorrow, if you have the best of robots to run a bank or to run an organization, there still will be a require for human beings, because without a personal touch, this particular industry, which requires a maximum personal touch of dealing with customers, it would not survive without human beings. So there is nothing to fear at this point.
Yeah, completely in agreement with you.
And that's a wonderful news that if there are no job cuts and if the employment survives. So maybe you could also continue answering, how do you see the future of this sector in 2 to 3 years then, now that there has been no deep impact on the employment because of the COVID. So how do you see that, in 2 to 3 years, how can we foresee this sector growing?
It's a very good question. I would relate this to one of the very prominent bankers in the country who made his comments in one of the meetings. Is geography is history, which means that in case, if at all, we believe that without our traveling, without connecting to people personally one-to-one, we are not in a position to do the business, I think that's history and that's forgone. And I think the second statement which the gentleman made, and I'm extremely impressed by that particular statement, which again relates to the current pandemic, is we talked about the normal earlier, then we talked about the new normal, and now we are speaking about nothing is going to be normal or nothing normal, which means that the impact may stay for a very long time compared to what we are predicting currently. We also believe, to be very honest, that people will start operating from home significantly. For example, in many organizations, they have already declared that 50% of the staff will work from home. Even in professional services organization, it is believed that over the next 1 or 2 years, 50% of the people are going to be working from home. So I would say that, coming back to your question, I would say that to a great extent, there will be the impact coming in, but the future will not be significantly impacted. people are going to be more careful in evaluation. Now, for example, in this particular industry, the biggest risk is the credit risk and the evaluation of credit. The kind of lavish credits and the kind of lavish disbursements that banks and institutions used to make in the past to all the sectors, that is going to be stopped. Number two, more importantly, I would say that the manner in which the operational efficiencies would be ensured within an organization also would be the priority in terms of cutting the costs. Thirdly, very importantly, new products and new services will be on the offing, given the fact that things are going to change and evolve very quickly. By the time, as I mentioned earlier, by the time you're comfortable and you are sort of in your own comfort zone with a particular service, something else evolves. The future is bright. It's just a matter of time. And I'm very confident that given the kind of leaps our own economy is taking and the fact that by 2025, we should become the third powerful nation in the world, without the development and the growth of the financial services sector, which Gaurav rightly alluded that, that is the backbone of the country today and the backbone of the economy. This is one sector which supports all the sectors, I would say. And this runs in the centers, in the center like a spinal, like a spinal cord, where other sectors are actually dependent upon its stability. And I personally believe that this particular sector in the next 3 to 4 years will have a multiple fold growth. But yes, credit is going to be more difficult. So if the borrowers are going to feel that the credit is going to be easy, that is not the case.
Wonderfully said, Khushroo, that banking is the spinal cord to which all the other sectors are connected, And I now actually regret not studying my banking or BFSI during my graduate or postgraduate years. Wonderfully enlightened. And if you could just add on in one sentence or two sentences about, what advice, lastly, would you give to aspirants of the higher education about a career in BFSI? What advice would you give them?
My advice to everybody out here is that this is the sector, not just because I'm associated significantly with this sector that I'm saying this, but this is one sector which has the maximum opportunities. This is one sector where you can actually even go for a career change without having much of a problem of relearning anything. This is one sector which provides maximum opportunities. And I would say that if at all you would like to build up your career in this sector, pick up, I'm not saying pick up anything, but pick up what comes to you first as a good opportunity. Try and dirty your hands in terms of learning. Try and find your feet in terms of getting settled down. Look out for better opportunities. And today, let me tell you that today, 50% of the people in the startup world have a background of financial services industry. So if I'm a promoter engaged in promoting a startup, my background, if you look at it, is financial services industry. Today, if you look at it on the fintech side, people who are developing fintech products which ultimately get sold to FS industry or banking industry and all, again come with the background of. So this particular sector gives you a lot of entrepreneurial skills as well, that tomorrow you can start your own business or you can have your own startup, given your background about this particular sector. And I think ultimately I would say that it is one of the very reputed sectors. At the same time, the risks are also high in this particular sector. The risk of credit, the risk of performance, the risk of failure is also very, very high. And therefore, unless and until somebody will be deep down into this particular sector, nobody can be just a sort of, a casual kind of an approach of becoming a professional in this sector. If you want to become a professional in this sector, then you need to be very clear that this is what you want to achieve. And accordingly, you need to mold your career and you need to mold your learnings to reach that particular level.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very wonderfully explained. Gaurav, if you could give one last word of advice to the aspirants of the postgraduate education in BFSI.
Vanna, I would say one thing that by choosing this particular course, I think you are doing the remaining half. When I say remaining half, what I mean is that one half we have already done. We all are bankers inside. We manage our finances. When you say you have not pursued this education, but believe me, you are a banker in your heart, because ultimately you manage your finances, you manage your overall loan books, you manage your overall investments. Everybody does that. We have part of that financial element in our lives. So I think this is an industry which we all understand from the basics perspective. So if I'm correct, from your college, a lot of people go to say automobile sector or pharma sector. Do they know the background of it or that industry as closely as they know banking? I think answer is no, because by at least by being a consumer of the banking services, we know what happens on this side of the table. All we have to judge is what should be done on the other side of the table. So I think by this particular spirit, you have the basic element, basic knowledge about this whole how the banking would be operating. And by enrolling in this particular course, you are actually stepping into the world where there are endless opportunities, and best part is it keeps evolving. I say, if I give you an example, 10 years back, हम cash use करते थे. Then there came a time when we started using cards. Then people said, no cards, let's use wallets. You used to carry your phone and आपने वहाँ से payment कर दिया. अब not even wallet. People are moving to UPI. अब third time में maybe there will be a probability of account number portability, that you are one account number and it is applicable to all the banks. So this industry keeps evolving. So you are actually stepping into the world where you can do n number of things based on your liking, based on your understanding, and based on your aspirations. So I think I must compliment Lloyd and you, that you're giving such a wonderful platform to the students where they can shape up their career in the most encouraging, most demanding industry, and it's believe me, it's very rewarding as well. So with my best wishes, I really compliment you for extending this particular opportunity and offering such a wonderful course to the aspirants.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, and I'm sure the aspirants who opt for a BFSI this year, at least after the pandemic, that it adds on value so much. And like rightly said by you, that each of us has been a banker. In fact, we manage our finances, so we know this side of the bank. And rightly said, we just have to understand what happens on the other side of the table.
Right.
So very, very rightly said. And I'm sure students have a lot to take home today, messages. And thank you so much, Mr. Panthaky and Gaurav, both of you, for sparing your time on a weekend, to throw some light. But, this was really necessary, because there are many misconceptions around the career, which even after graduation, students don't really seem to understand, or, they get misguided. So it had to come from the right sources. And who better than both of you who've been in the industry for so long. And, we wanted the students to be exposed to the best. And that's why we chose that, you guide them for their future careers. Thank you so much for being around. Thanks, Neha, for coordinating. And we shall end the conversation here, and maybe look forward to another one in some time.